guys, so it's TBradley90. I'm in chat. My name is Tosh, and I represent MIC. And any of these videos that I create, I just want to make clear that before we get into anything and what I talk about, I am not a licensed broker. I'm not a licensed trader. The number one thing that you got to take away from this is that it's mostly just my opinion. It's what has worked for me, and I'm talking from my own biased opinions, personal opinions, anything that relates to what I think the market does or what it's done in the past or what I think it'll do. So take everything with a grain of salt, and your trading is up to you. This is strictly my opinion. All right, let's get into this. MIC, My Investing Club community, we are on with our exclusive club member today. His name is Classy Trader, real name Sergio. And Sergio, if you want to kind of talk about your experience at MIC so far and let us introduce yourself, buddy.
Thank you, Tosh. And I'm very much excited to get to know you and hear you. Of course, it's been, a year since, I started to follow Bao and Alex and of course, Nico and you. And it's been such a pleasure to get to have this opportunity to talk about, this one-on-one mentorship. So yeah, my name is Sergio. I'm a Classy Trader. And I've been having this whole trading experience in and out for a year and a half. So perhaps my trading experience is little. It's probably less than a year. But it's been so far very interesting and also enlightful experience. Not just considering the amount of material and growth in the markets, but also in my personal life. And I see it this way. I want to emphasize that trading is just one piece of your life, and your life is much bigger. And
yes, life is much bigger than just trading. I got to cut you off and tell people to stay healthy. Enjoy life, stay alive, get outside. But yeah, back to it, man. Give me more. What else?
And I found day trading and the markets, as most people, through ads on internet, and yeah, I found this chat room service, and I signed in onto this, and at some point, I started to see the reality. For me, it was not something that I started to follow too much alerts,
right?
But I will see the whole industry, and I will see how wild, but at the same time, super unfair, for the individual. I think that the industry of the markets it's basically designed for you to lose. It's like basically going to a casino.
Well, that's
that you are not going to go and win the jackpot. You are just taking probabilities, but most of the time, the house is the owner of the money.
I mean, that's exactly what it is, man. You said it really good. Is here at MIC, the number one thing that we promote is we want people to use their own brains. We're not going to give you exact alert entries. We're not going to text you. We're not going to email you. That's not what makes a successful trader. The reason why 90% of people fail is because they're just looking for that instant gratification. And that's a Band-Aid. You rip the Band-Aid off. It's not a lasting cure to what's the problem. And that's what we try to promote, is we try to promote a level of thought process, pre-planning. Hey, me, Alex, Bao, Nico, and millions of other traders out there, we're all waking up, we're seeing what's in pre-market, and we're making a plan of attack. And that's kind of the number one thing that I want to actually go through with you today. And that's why we're doing this is, here at MIC, we do these one-on-one mentorship sessions. And this is kind of what this is. This is a little bit of a tease. I wanted to bring you out today, Sergio, and just kind of at least show you and like kind of the world a little bit what I look for and, what works for me. And maybe it's not going to work for everybody. You can make so much money in trading with 100 different strategies, bro. You could buy over VWAP, you could short under VWAP, you could play options. There's so many ways to make money in the market, but here at MIC, we're going to show you what works for us. If you don't agree with it, then we adapt, and we've got new strategies, and there's always something new because the market's always adapting, the market's always changing, and that's why we kind of do what we do and offer these sessions so that our guys are up to date each week. That's why we do the Saturday, morning Q&A. It's like, what's going on with the market right now? And I'll get into that a little bit later, but I'm super glad you tuned in today, man. And if I could ask one more question, because I kind of want to get to know a little bit outside of your backstory, what is kind of the number one thing that you're maybe struggling with in your personal trading career that maybe I can even go over today and offer some pointers? I'd like to kind of get to know your trading style a little bit.
Well, for me, I think it's been something that I'm still trying to discover. You need to, as mentors and people in the chat room sense, you need to find a methodology that suits your personality.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
Things that works maybe for Bao or Alex or you might not work for me at all. So this is why I really love from MIC. There are so many ways that you can trade the markets, and it's not just one. You can day trade, you can swing trade.
People are doing it left and right. That's what's so cool, and I'm so excited to see every day. Is not people aren't following us. They're coming up with their own ideas. They're using our definitions of what we think price action is doing as a guide. Like, nobody's following each other. That's what's so good. Everybody is just either learning something new every day or getting something. Like I always say it like this: if you learn one thing a day, that day is not wasted, right? Like, you're literally an evolved person of the person you were yesterday, and that's what learning is all about, and that's what mastering this craft is all about. And I love that you said that. I had to kind of interject on you and say that.
Right. Yeah, I fully agree with you. Even if you learn one thing a day, you're going to be a better person, a better trader tomorrow. As I was telling you, for me, it's not just, the trading experience, but, the personal growth that you are having through this. So going back to your main question, for me, I think the emotional, psychological part of trading, I think is one of the crucial things. You can have all the knowledge, all the theory, people can tell you how to trade, but once you enter on a position, it is up to you how this is going to evolve for you. Either you are FOMO or you are, greedy or you are scared. You're going to cut your loss too soon, or perhaps you're going to cut your profits too early. So for me, this has been, the main challenge. Once you are in, things sometimes get blurry. You start, agitating yourself, or perhaps not looking, rationally things, or perhaps, just not taking care of, the most important things, like being patient, keep it simple, following your plan, because I think this is one of the main things that, we in the beginning don't even know what a plan is, and people think that the plan is such a complexity that you don't understand what the entire word means. But, sometimes plan it's as simple as, getting to know where you're going to get in, getting to know where you're going to go out, and having a stop loss if things doesn't work according to your plan.
That's exactly right, man. I'm glad you said that. And now that I kind of best know of how to approach this today, is you're really coming from the idea that you want to build consistency, and you also kind of want to develop a stronger quote unquote backbone for the mental side of trading, and develop kind of, what I like to call steel nuts, so to speak, right? It's everything can be boiled down into really just three things. What is your, risk tolerance? Like, what's your exposure to risk? What are you comfortable with? And are you able to cut that risk, or are you able to hold that risk? Because everything boils down to, you need to let your winners run, and you need to cut your losses quickly. And actually, Sergio, I have a great example today. Let's go through, which I'm sure you were familiar with. Did you see NBEV today? Did you see this stock?
Yes.
All right.
I saw it.
So this ran about a week ago, right?
Correct.
And this was one of the number one stocks that I nailed, and I started shorting here at the 240 level. So I made a plan pre-market, and this is what I teach everybody: is like the number one thing you need to do is develop a plan pre-market. So I'll actually go back to ABAC for a second because I have my rules written there, but here's what I look for. And I think this is kind of, I'm definitely 100% exclusive short seller. I haven't longed in 6 months. I totally know how to long. I'm just not comfortable at all doing it. So I'll kind of speak from the short seller perspective, but anything that I say can obviously be reverse engineered for the long side. And that's kind of the whole situation of how I speak. But I'm going to speak exclusively from short side. So if I'm looking for like an A+ setup, right, the number one things I'm looking at, and I'm going to go through both examples, but ABAC here was perfect. So it had a toxic daily. This is the first thing I check. Anytime I see like a stock, I'm just like, okay, is it downtrending? Are there bag holders? This is key. Does this look like a strong stock? No. Up, down, up, down. This thing cannot hold its gains. It's pretty nasty. I'm sure if we go in the fundamental side, the finances, it's probably bad too. I can't exactly remember this ticker, but let's go general. So toxic daily is the first thing I'm looking for. Second, is there recent overhead resistance? And here's an example of this. So there wasn't super overhead resistance right here on this day, which was a week and a half ago, but there was 3 days ago on ABAC. So this is what I call recent resistance. These people got bagged. These people need out. They're bag holders, they got destroyed on, 9.6. So when this stock runs again, it's probably going to be met with a lot of these resistance points. And then, just find your resistance points that you're willing to scale or have exposure to risk. So that's kind of what I base on as number 2 is like, where's the recent overhead resistance? And that's my favorite thing possible on the 30-day chart. Number 3 is I see a lot of people shorting stocks, right here. Oh, okay, ABAC's a piece of crap, right? Let's short it at 240. Oh, wait, let's short it at 250, 264. No, the thing that you have to do is let, Bao and Alex kind of coined this phrase is let meat form on the bone, right? So you need these stocks to actually grow a move before they have room to come back down and have downside. That's why these things, jet up, and if they're crap, they usually slam right down with a death candle, and then it's heavy under VWAP, and then it fades off. And by the way, this is a huge conviction play for a swing, and I'll get into that a little bit later. But number 4, dilution. Always, go to SEC Edgar, go to BAM SEC, see if they've got the shelf out there, see if they've got the S3, see if they've got the things that make this an A+ setup in the sense that if they have dilution, it's got a reason to go down. Bro, the technicals can be there all day, and while I'm mainly a technical trader, having the fundamentals at your disposal is a huge, huge asset and just kind of the cherry on top. So, if ABAC was running and I see it's got no dilution, but I love the technicals, okay, it's like a B+ to an A. But if I see, in BAM that they're going to get smoked once people realize how fraudulent and bad this company is, and I'm speaking generally, so this can be any ticker, but I'm just using this as an example, it's got a reason to go down outside of technicals, and that's kind of like a double whammy. So that's what develops these so-called, conviction plays. And fifth is like the most important thing outside of like news and a daily chart to me is the float. How small is it? If a chat room buys this up and they're alerting members and they're sending out SMS alerts, they're sending out email alerts, Palm Pilot alerts, everything, right? How many members do they have? Like, do they have enough people to chase this thing up? Is it a 2 million float? Is it a 3 million float? Is it a 900,000 float where every uptick in the spread, is differentiated by 30 and 40 cents, and this thing is going to skip dollars on you? In fact, I've said this before in previous videos, but I personally will not short anything under 2 million float. It's not worth it because I don't think ABAC was. I think ABAC was a 4 million float the day this ran, but on what was this, 9.6? But here's the point. It's like you nail so you break your rules, right? You nail a 2 million float, you nail a 3 million float today, tomorrow, maybe the next day. The one day where it's going to, skip against you and just skip dollars, and you're going to be market ordering out so quick that you need out of there, you're going to lose your ass, and it's just not worth it. So my sweet spot when it comes to float is kind of like the 10 to probably 25, I'd say, million float range, and that's where I get a lot of room to either scale. I'm different from the average trader in that I scale a lot. So, one of the major benefits about scaling is something like ABAC runs is I can start hitting it at 280, 290, 3 with a little bit exposure to risk, and maybe I'm starting in small and then hammering it once I see a little bit of topping action and confirm, and see I'm giving myself more range to be right or wrong on the trade. And that's what scaling does for a lot of people, and they don't kind of realize, and it's very hard to scale something that's just running, 3 million float, 2 million float, is you're going to get wrecked. Even your first entry, say you threw 1,000 shares here on this small float at, 257, 2 minutes later it's at 320. That's just 1,000 shares. Bro, you're underwater quick. So one of the number one things you got to look at is just what's the daily look like? What's the news look like? Obviously, what's the float look like? Dilution. How much is it up? If it's up 100%, it's got a crap daily with bad news. It's go time. It's fucking go time. Like I put on the gloves. And then lastly is news. I'm looking for bullshit news. I'm looking for rumors. I'm looking for rehash. I'm looking for news that just does not seem relevant for the general price action it's trading at. I knew this day I couldn't get borrows. I don't think anybody could, if I remember correctly, which is ironically probably why it faded so hard, but nobody could get borrows on this. I knew this news that it had was not worth it to be at 320, especially gapping up from 159. Like, come on, 160. It's dog shit. It just couldn't last, and that's kind of what happened. It runs again. And because all these guys got underwater, what do you think it's going to do the next week it runs? Unless it's a phase 3. So the two things I don't short are phase 3, meeting the endpoints, good trials, good data for phase 3 biotechs, and second, major acquisitions. So unless ABAC gets news today, they get a little volume. Unless Whole Foods cleaned them up and partnered with them, I'm going to take a short on it, and I'm going to risk the levels where it came down. And if you notice, which there's no coincidence, this was a major resistance point. Why? Because this was the level it failed miserably this day, and specifically right there as well. Well, look at this. The wicks couldn't even make it through. Stuff through, boom. Slam under VWAP, fail, stay heavy, and then eventually fail. And, you could have swung this or not. That's up to you. I'm not much of a swing trader. I do swing trade, but again, I only swing trade like 3 or 4 times a week. I'm an intraday trader who swings if the conviction is there. And just to show you a little bit upon conviction, is most people don't talk about this, but there are trading times. The first hour is what I look for every single day. So, the number one points you want to hit are for intraday trading. I base on the pre-market levels first. So number one, I'm trying to find, where the pre-market levels are. This didn't have much pre-market trading. So let's see if I can find another example is NBEV today. Perfect. So it had a little bit of pre-market trading, right? It goes up to 2, it goes up to 210, I think 215. And I started short here. I'll show you, I'll even bring in my entries. I have these prepped. So this is what I traded today. So on NBEV. So I started in pre-market because I thought it was going to fail at 2. Again, a week ago it runs. These people are still underwater. This is not great news in my opinion. Now, here's where you got to respect your rules, and I'm glad you brought up, consistency and what makes a trader safe. Is like I said, the first 2 hours, I'm slamming short. I'm covering at bottoms over here, as you can see. I'm covering where I think the support is, and this was a huge support range for pre-market, hence the covers. This is probably going to jump back a little bit. Well, here's the thing. My whole strategy is based on everything as it amounts to 3 things. VWAP, as per time of day, and the relative weakness of price action to VWAP. So if you look at this, and I see instantaneously this morning, right? It rejects out of the open, slams under VWAP. That's perfect. I'm holding conviction through this. I'm very satisfied. I know it's got not a great daily. The news was, what was the news? They wanted to spike their drinks with CBD oil or something like that. And because we're in a hot sector, that might have some traction, but it didn't in the morning at least. So here's what happens. Volume fades off, it fades, stays heavy. Now, had this stayed down here and stayed way under VWAP all day, that is called relative weakness to VWAP. Price action is trading a lot lower than VWAP, hence my hold time, and hence whether I'm going to swing in a day 2. But as you'll notice, volume picks up a little bit right here, kind of pops back up to VWAP. So it's trading around this area where maybe things kind of come back and squeeze. And then second, look at the end of the day. Volume starts really pouring. I mean, look at these volume bars. Like demand is gone. Then it comes back, right? So this is why consistency is so important in trading. You either need to take your morning gains and just play mornings, or you need to be the guy that knows when to cut. And I knew a guy who was shorting this today, and he had a great average. He had a 210 average, right, in pre-market. We shorted together. He's one of my trading partners, and he had a 210 average. Great. Held all day. He thought it was going to be a home run, and he thought it was going to go to like 140s tomorrow, and here's what happened. Volume pours in, ramps back over VWAP, especially end of day, which you need to be a little bit cautious on. Volume really pours in. See how the big candles are, if not the same or bigger than the most volume it had, which was in the morning. See, it's matching these levels. Had it stayed under here, it probably would have just faded off all day. But now that you see them up here kind of testing these levels of the morning, demand is there, man. Demand is really coming back. And it's no coincidence that, boom, on this candle, this thing just starts to fucking go. And it doesn't look back. It doesn't even offer shorts a dip to really get out. So, my trading friend had to take a loss, but that's part of the game, man, because here's what happens. You hold this stock in tomorrow, nobody knows, Sergio. I can't say this enough. Nobody knows. I don't care who touts it on the internet. I don't care who flamboyantly, throws their Rolexes, Lamborghinis, and like, I can predict the market. Nobody can predict what's going to happen. So you have to stick to rules. I trade the morning action. It's what I do. It's what I'm consistent in. Usually stocks come back from, 11 to 2. It's just the time frame where stocks either give headaches, they give fake outs. This time period, I'll even draw it. From right here to about right here, this is no man's land, man. Anything can happen. This stock can come back, higher lows, ramp over VWAP, volume can pour in, and then boom, it's breaking high a day, then pre-market high a day, and it's off to the races. Now, here's what happened. If you look closely, here's what happened today. Here, let me just remove all these lines because it's kind of, or I'll remove these at least because it's kind of crazy. But here's what happens. The stock starts really getting momentum, right? Starts really getting momentum. So you have to play based on these levels of resistance points. Boom. Broke through the first one. Broke through the second one. Broke through the third one. I knew this would be an aftermarket mover as soon as it broke through this. Again, I wish I longed it, but what are you going to do? I'm a short seller. So tomorrow, I'm going to stock this thing. But again, price action does not always have to make sense. Pot has been a hot sector lately, correct? It's been all over people's radars. TLRY, Cron, IGC, like these things are moving right now. And maybe they've moved already and maybe they're making a return. It doesn't matter. It's a hot sector right now. So this stock, they released midday news. And if you look, it was at 10:24 Pacific Standard Time. New Age Beverages shares are up 11.3% after the company was earlier awarded new trademarks related to cannabinoid-infused drinks. So now it's midday news. It's a hot sector. This move does not have to make sense. Can you stay solvent before the market corrects itself, or is the market going to be right? That's the whole point of trading. It's like, yeah, if you've got $1 billion account, well, just hold this shit. It's probably trash, and it'll probably end up back here. But here's the thing. This ends traders, man. You can't be stubborn. You cannot be stubborn. I had to call my friend and say, dude, your stock's ripping against you. This could gap up to 290 to 3 tomorrow, and maybe it goes to 350 before coming back down. That's the point. What if they PR in the morning? You don't know these things, right? So when it comes to the mental side of trading, and believe me, I'm rambling. I'm going on kind of everything I can think of in one session because this is, we do these one-on-one mentorship sessions, and they're kind of you get an hour with me or Nico, and we really, really heavily dive into these and endless examples and everything. But for the sake of this conversation and the fact that we're going to kind of keep it small, I'm going to kind of rush through these things. But this is a perfect example, and it happened today, bro. This is this is just what ego looks like. You're short right here, you chase lows, and you're holding through all of this. This is hope and prayer, man. You can't make a career out of that. You just can't. And there's times where I've been stubborn. There has, but as soon as this is going to break high a day and pre-market high, brother, it's time to bail. It's time to run like a fucking vampire's chasing you, man. You got to get out of there, bro. That's just, you got to bail. So I don't know what this is going to do tomorrow. I don't think anyone knows. I say the higher the better for the short, but I'll see how it reacts in the morning. And then to kind of go back to my previous example and kind of what I do is here's the flip side. Remember what ABAC did. So let me delete this. Let's go through this. So VWAP is the blue line. Generally speaking, over VWAP is bullish, and generally speaking, under VWAP is bearish. and this is kind of one of the things that, Bao and Alex use to their advantage, and I have for many years, in the sense that if a stock is super overextended and finally just death candles under VWAP, that's a great guide to start shorting the pops on VWAP. I mean, look at this overhead resistance, 320. The biggest pop it had was to 270. These people are underwater. So when it stays heavy under VWAP and the more times it pops to and rejects, short these pops, man. You could hit this pop, like any of these pops, and you could have swung this into day 2, a continuation play, low-hanging fruit. Like, this is kind of how we do what we do. We've got a set of rules. You're never going to see me long under VWAP. I mean, you might not see me long in general, but you're not going to see me long under VWAP. I think it's bad R&R. I think it's just a horrible idea. The only times you're going to see me long over VWAP is after 11 Eastern Standard Time. I live in Los Angeles, so 8 my time. But this is the time to get long. This time, obviously, and this time, but dude, this time is short time, and this is either, it's go for gold or it's bail time. That's just how it is. So these things, and the lower it is under VWAP by like 8 or 7:30, 8, which is 10:30 and 11 Eastern Standard Time, I know for a fact if I'm going to start covering, depending on how low it is to VWAP, the lower it is, I'm holding longer. There's no question about it. If it's kind of teasing around this area and it's like VWAP's your average, dude, I'm covering. I just don't know what it's going to do, and nobody does. And when these things catch, if this is a 4 million float, goodbye to the roof. Who knows? But I hope this kind of cleared up some of your questions today, man, and a little bit of the mental side, because when it comes to the mental side of trading, you have nothing but your rules. I've got probably 10,000 rules, but the ones that come to mind instantly that give me success each morning are, does my criteria line up for pre-market, A or B? It does or it doesn't. Second, is there overhead resistance? Do I like the daily? Is the float big enough for me to get in and out with size if I choose to use size, or if I'm going to scale it small until I've got a pretty good position on? But the point is this thing going to get away from me? Okay, it is? Okay, I'm not trading it. Zero FOMO. I don't even know what FOMO is anymore. I'm so numb to this game. The longer you do this, I've been doing this for 5 years, you get numb to losses, you get numb to wins. I nailed 2 trades today, and I'm like, okay, what do I got for tomorrow? I'll go buy myself a smoothie down the street to celebrate, but it's not a big deal anymore. And that's what's kind of so cool about trading, is that because that numb feeling can really actually help you. So I come into the market every day like a Terminator. Is something within the first hour and a half gonna trade like ABAC for me or NBEV? I mean, look at that. MYND was another one today. I just, I reserved a ton of shares for this. I couldn't get them on because I was too focused with CLRB and NBEV, which proved to be great wins. But don't try to nail everything. Don't worry about what your comrades are making. Don't worry about what everyone in chat is playing. The only thing that's going to make sense to you is what makes sense to you. No one's trading your account. No one's taking your losses with you, and no one's taking those gains with you. It's all your money. It's all your thought process. It's all your trades. And the number one piece of advice I can give to anyone is while you're in chat, while you've got scanners up, you see your friends doing it, as much as you can separate, and not separate from the Twitterverse and all these things, just don't worry, man. Tune out what everyone else is doing unless it benefits your trading. Don't look and see if Alex makes 30 grand that day, that's awesome. Man, that's awesome for him. Focus on what's going to help you, Sergio, because if you see a P&L like that and you go, oh man, Alex can do it, I can do it, but I don't know what I'm going to do, so I'm going to throw a random couple of darts and hope I win. That's the number one way to lose consistency. You lose confidence, and then eventually you're just going to be like, oh man, nothing's working. See, the number one way to get your mind on the right track is through consistency first. Play small size if you have to. Be consistent. Being consistent builds confidence. Confidence, as I always say, builds conviction. And conviction is really just a level of, I'm going to level up on this. I'm going to size in. If I usually throw 1,000 at MYND, today I'm going to throw 3,000. That's a pretty big jump overnight. I would always say increment by 10% or 20% increments. But you get the idea. And the whole point behind this, man, is to look, stock market's not going anywhere, buddy. It's really not. It's been around for a really long time. It's going to continue to be around for a really long time because the average Joe Schmo investor, he's pretty dumb. and he wants that quick buck. And what we do is, suffice it to say, everything's supply and demand. Everybody's taking money from each other. I'm going to get someone's fills. He's going to get mine. I'm going to fill someone else. That's just what happens. But you can find these subtle edges that offer you, an edge. You can find these things that give you an edge to bank on other people's stupidity. And while everyone, else is like longing, where's A back again, right? These three examples are just too good. So while average Joe dipshit is longing, A back at 11:15 and 11:30, piling in the short. It's so under VWAP. Like it's got so much overhead. The daily's crap. The news is shit. Any chance of this returning? Yeah, it may. Just like I said, nobody actually knows exactly what it's going to do, and it may return. But here's the thing: it's a good R&R trade. It's decent. So take the trade. Sergio, do you kind of see what I'm saying with all this, man? I know I hit you with a lot of information, but like that's the point. Is like people think that they can come into this game and it'll be easy, brother. It's not going to be easy. But what I can tell you is, myself, Nico, Alex, Bao, here at MIC, we're going to provide you with the best possible scenarios and indicators and life lessons that we learned by taking losses for years. We're going to try to make it so that your learning curve is way less, bro, because profit from the years that we lost and what we learned from, and that's what we're kind of passing down. But it's not an easy game. You got to learn all this stuff. You got to know who's looking at these stocks. You got to know the fundamentals. You got to know the technicals, all that stuff.
Yeah, this is something that I wanted to stress. What you just showed me on three stocks it's mind blowing. Sometimes it's the reality of the markets. Once you have all the trends conform, and you can see the stops, the resistance, the supports. I think it's much easier to understand. But this is something that I also wanted to to ask you. You have your journey, and of course everyone has its own challenges and obstacles. How would you have seen the same stocks perhaps 3 years ago? Because right now what you're telling me, I'm fully aware that you have all this experience, you have your losses, your pain, your lessons, and now you can tell VWAP is in this line, and if it's past 11 and it's getting higher, get out. But if you have the price action going slower and lower and lower, it's perhaps safer to stay on this position. And of course you have volume on one side, and even though it sounds simple, I think that once you are in the trade, as I was telling you, people, they just get lost. They don't pay attention to all these indicators and everything, because you don't have anything in the future. You are just looking to the past, which I think is the most simple way to show people it's human behavior. And
the number one thing there, buddy, is people don't believe what they don't see. Correct. Exactly. So if I'm going to believe in XYZ, I need to see XYZ first. Well, that's why trading is so hard, and why so many people fail is if your A+ setup's coming, right, and you don't have conviction, you haven't seen enough charts in action, but you're just like, I know this stock's going to go down. You need to look at past history and trust that wherever you're entering based on, obviously criteria and the technicals that you came about with your pre-market plan or intraday plan, is stick with that. And that's why I tell people, don't waver on your plan. Now, I wouldn't say wing it, but if you've got a plan in place, bro, stick to that plan. So like my friend today had a plan to stop out at a certain level. I think it was around here. He said, okay, you know what? Fuck it. 217. If it breaks, I'm going to stop out. Right here, he kind of thought he was good. It was stalling at pre-market and high of day. It was kind of stalling here. So he thought he was good for a second, and he might have been a premature move and then right back down. But this had the demand, it had the longevity, and it continued up. But here's the thing: he stopped at 217. Dude, he could have stopped at 275. That's the point. Is like, have a plan, stick with it, and just know that like trading is, in a sense, obviously it's gambling. I don't care what anyone says. This is a form of gambling, but we can put the odds in our favor as best we can. And we're, in a weird way, we're trying to see the future. Like, we're literally trying to predict the future. So we haven't seen the future. We don't know how it's going to behave. That's why people get so nervous. That's why people stop out when they shouldn't. That's why people take their losses too quickly. The stock, okay, so I short, I'm shorting NBEV at 205. Oh, I fucking top ticked it. I cover right here at VWAP, 198. Dude, how are you ever going to have a career? Because obviously it's too hard. It's just too hard to have a career like that. It's a game of data. It's a game of trust. I mean, I tell people all the time, is like, don't be a pussy and nut up or shut up, man. If you're going to trade, learn what to do. But most importantly is like where you're coming from. And you're like, okay, like how do people know about this? That is just time, my friend. Sergio, I studied stocks for the first 3 years. And I'm not kidding you, bro. I literally like ended my relationship, just to get a little personal, ended my relationship. I quit my job. I had money saved up. I studied 14 hours a day, charts, level 2, networked with everybody I could fucking find on Twitter that was worth their salt and or locally. Like I became friends with Matt and we became friends. He showed me things here and there back a couple years ago. And that's what you need to do is you need to look at charts endlessly. You need to see these patterns. So the next time it comes and you've got maybe an entry to get in, you might not stumble that time because you're like, dude, I've seen this 500 times. This stock is going to do this. And if it doesn't, I'm either going to cut my loss quick or it was such a perfect setup, but that's just an outlier. But I got to cut it anyways. This move right here is absolutely ridiculous if you ask me. This stock does not deserve to be up here. I don't know why my thing's not working, but this stock does not deserve to be up here. I do not think this news can justify 275. But here's the thing. Does that matter? Stock market's right. It's there. Now, here's the thing that I got to take into consideration. It's a hot sector. People may be blindly chasing this up. Clown chasers have obviously shown their hand. So tomorrow, I'm going to go in with a bias of short because I don't think it deserves to be up here, but I'm going to be cautious. I'm not going to short blindly. You can't do that. You cannot do that. It's not a plan. So that's why we outline, Nico and Alex provide their watch list every morning in MIC in the channel morning watch list is because we want you guys to see this enough to where you're self-sufficient and you get it and it just makes sense and you go, wow, I see this every day. Alex is looking at this. Why is he looking at this? Oh, because of this level tested this. There's resistance on the daily here. There's a $1.50 number here. These are the technical indicators that you're going to pick up daily. And specifically if you do, one-on-one mentorship sessions with me or Nico, because we can go into however many hours you want and really get to the nitty-gritty of why things work and why things don't work. And most importantly, because trading is a process of elimination. The most important thing you got to understand about trading is it's not even what to do. It's what not to fucking do, man. It's not to hold this short all day and just hope it comes back down tomorrow and the next day and when it's gapped up on you at 350 and the day after that. You're going to get wrecked. You're going to get wrecked, man. You just can't do that. So it's just process of elimination, man. I traded the first 2 years of my career long. I realized I was actually somewhat of a decent longer, but mostly on the scalp side. But I just realized I hated it, and it just wasn't for me. And every time I got scared, I was shaky and nervous. I'd lose breath a little bit. Nowadays, I can click a short button. I could be in 6 different shorts, scaling them with zero fear and completely, steady. Hand steady as, ice. Like, that's just how it is. It's my comfort zone. That's what I'm comfortable with. I hit the morning stupidity chasers. I cover lows, and then I address later and see if something pops up that could be on my radar that I think has maybe an end-of-day give back or an end-of-day bleed or a fade or an unwind of a couple chat rooms that we're in, or swing it in a day 2 because I think the move has been exacerbated for the last 3 or 4 days and it's got plenty of room to the downside. Again, I could talk your ear off for like 10 hours straight. And I
couldn't agree more with you. And I think that, there are 2 key elements that you're mentioning. I'm telling you from the perspective that someone, that is just trying to, grind and find this consistency on trading. The first one is, to find this process, follow a process. And, if you are confident enough, you see the technicals, you have the fundamentals, then, okay, you have more or less the idea of, this stock, it's basically going on air, and basically you're going to short it. If it doesn't work, you have your stop loss. But I think the other key important issue is time. Let the trade work for itself. In this case, I'm thinking probably
entries,
6 months
entries,
ago.
entries, brother. They're everything. Exactly. Trading should be boring. It should be static. You should sit there almost not wanting to trade to make money. Patience. Wait for your entries. I cannot stress it enough. It's the number one thing me, Bao, and Alex preach about. And look, man, trading should honestly be, at the end of the day, it should be kind of boring. You should be like, my setup's not here. I'll fucking wait. Maybe I'll put on some background Netflix noise and chill with myself, but that's just,
Yeah, I think that, comes with time, and I'm definitely aware, and people don't realize this, things come with a time, you have to respect the rules, you have to have a process, but you also need to give it time, and time doesn't just takes in 1 day or 1 week or even 1 year, you need to constant rinse and repeat until you build your confidence, your setups.
Yep.
And as you are telling me, yes, it's not something that you grinded from, day one or your first year. You had this, ambitious and dreams, but you work hard in order to get to know all this and to explain me the way you are explaining me.
Man, I get a lot of people, and Sergio, we'll have to kind of wrap up here, buddy, in a second or so, because we're kind of getting over time, which has been an absolute pleasure to talk to you today. But I'll end you with 3 things. So, I'll end with this, is stocks can go up for no reason. The reason why I'm a shorter is stocks go down always for a reason. So all this shit can fly all day, man. You just have to be patient, wait for your entries, realize where the last chaser has exhausted themselves out, topping action, and where this thing will eventually come down. And a lot of people ask me, like, Tosh, like, you top tick so many stocks, like how do you do it? And I go, look, man, if you knew how much I put in this career and how much I've studied over the years and who I've networked with, you wouldn't even call it skill. It's not even skill, dude. It's just hard work. And you said it perfectly. It's like, I tell people all the time, I've told people this my whole life because I'm a firm believer in this. Dude, compound effect. People do not realize how long a year actually is and what you can get done. So all the people that come to me like, hey, Tosh, like, I'm not happy. All I signed up for is alerts. It's like, dude, I can already tell you're going to fucking fail. Like, you have to, does a Major League Baseball player go out there and, not pitching, a no-hitter for the first time? He's like, oh, fuck this, everybody got a hit off me. No, he's going to get better. He's going to learn how to throw faster, throw a better curveball. So one day he goes, dude, I'll throw a no-hitter. I'm going to win this, The whole point is compound effect. So that guy looking for alerts, that's quick fix, man. You want quick, dude, go to casinos. You're not going to make it in this career. You want to learn, then you sit your ass down every single day. Depending on whether you got a family, whether you got, kids, whether you got school, whether you're in the military, all this stuff is going to take precedence, obviously. Handle your life first. Make sure your life is awesome. Make sure you're out of debt, bills are paid. But then, when you get some free time, study an hour a day. Study 2 hours a day. You don't have to be as extreme as I was and study 14 hours a day and literally break up with my girlfriend because she couldn't take it anymore. You know what I mean? Like, I was so obsessive, my relationship went to shit. And honestly, I have no regrets. So cross your fingers. But my whole point is, buddy, is if you only have an hour a day to study stocks, don't miss that fucking hour. Go study your balls off. Watch every single thing you can on it. Learn everything. Screenshot. Save. PM us in chat. We're always there to help MIC members. We're always there to make these videos. Like, we truly give a shit about everybody's learning. And we want to change this industry and show that it's not alerts to succeed. It's thought process. It's plan. And it's just a plan of attack, man. That's all it is.
Just to tell you, you guys, Modern Rock, Alex, Nico, and you, thank you for everything that you're doing. I think that you are breaking what, something that, never has tried to done in the past. Everyone is just trying to work for themselves, and you are just working for the community now, and this is something that is very priceless.
Hey, thanks a lot, man. It's been my absolute pleasure, buddy. I'll see you in chat. Never hesitate to throw me a PM. Never hesitate to reach out. And let's get those monster green days, huh? Let's learn these patterns, man.
Let's do it.
All right, Sergio. Hey, see you, buddy.